Chapter 6, Section 2, Greek Religion, Philosophy, and Literature. Think about the things that make the United States a good place to live. What do you like about living here? How would you describe life in the United States to someone from another country? What would you say were the most important achievements of the United States? Questions to think about as we go through the video. What were some of the accomplishments of the Golden Age of Greece? 2. How did Greek philosophers try to understand the world? 2 key terms that will be defined for you through the Google Classroom: tribute, immortal, philosopher, and tragedy. Key people and places that you'll come across: Pericles, Parthenon, and Socrates. Please make sure that you have the Google Classroom open to the Google Doc and ready to answer questions as they are answered throughout this video. Make sure to submit when you have finished. Our Constitution does not copy the laws of neighboring states. We are a pattern to other cities rather than imitators. Our Constitution favors the many instead of the few. That is why it is called a democracy. If we look at the laws, we see they give equal justice to all. Poverty does not bar the way. If a man is able to serve the state, in short, I say that as a city, we are school for all of Greece. These are the words of the Athenian leader, Pericles. He was reminding the citizens that Athens was special. Pericles' words had special meaning. They were spoken during the first year of a war with Sparta, another Greek city-state. Eventually, it was Sparta that ended Athens' golden age of accomplishment. The Golden Age of Athens. During the years from 479 BC to 431 BC are called the Golden Age of Athens. During the Golden Age, Athens grew rich from trade, from silver mined by slaves in regions around the city. Tribute, or payments made to Athens by its allies, added to its wealth. Athenians also made amazing achievements in the arts, philosophy, and literature, and democracy reached its high point. For about 30 years during the Golden Age, Pericles was the most powerful man in Athenian politics. This well-educated and intelligent man had the best interest of his city at heart. When he made speeches to the Athenians, he could move and persuade them. Pericles was a member of an aristocratic family, but he supported democracy. Around 460 BC, he became the leader of a democratic group. He introduced reforms that strengthened democracy. The most important change was to have the city pay a salary to its officials. This meant that poor citizens could afford to hold public office. The flourishing arts. Today, Pericles is probably best known for making Athens a beautiful city. In 480 BC, during one of the city's many wars, the Acropolis of Athens had been destroyed. Pericles decided to rebuild the Acropolis and create new buildings to glorify the city. He hired the Greek world's finest architects and sculptors for the project. Magnificent architecture. The builders of the new Acropolis brought Greek architecture to its highest point. Their most magnificent work was the Parthenon, a temple to the goddess Athena. The temple was made of fine marble. Rows of columns surrounded it on all four sides. Within the columns was a room that held the statue of Athena, made of wood, ivory, and gold. The statue rose 40 feet, which is as high as a 4-story building. Lifelike sculpture. The great statue of Athena disappeared long ago. However, much of the sculpture on the inside and outside of the temple still exists. Many of the scenes that decorate the Parthenon have 3 important characteristics. First, they are full of action. Second, the artist carefully arranged the figures to show balance and order. Third, the sculptures are lifelike and accurate. However, they are ideal or perfect views of humans and animals. These characteristics reflect the goal of Greek art. This goal was to present images of human perfection in a balanced and orderly way. Real people and animals would not look like these sculptures. The search for knowledge. Greeks worshipped a family of gods and goddesses called the 12 Olympians. Each ruled different areas of human life. This chart gives you more information about these Olympians. Feel free to pause the video and read about Zeus, Hera, Apollo, Athena, and Poseidon. Greek religion. Wherever the Greeks lived, they built temples to the gods. Since the gods had human forms, they also had many human characteristics. The main difference between gods and humans was that gods were perfect in form and had awesome power. Also, the gods were immortal, which meant they lived forever. In addition to the 12 great gods led by Zeus, the Greeks worshipped many lesser ones. They also honored mythical heroes like Achilles, who had done great things and great deeds during the Trojan War. The stories of Achilles is told in the Iliad. Greek science and philosophy. Most Greeks believed that their gods were the source of all natural events, but a few thinkers disagreed. About 150 years before the Golden Age of Athens, some people thought about ways besides myths to understand the world. These people came to be called philosophers. They believed that people could use the power of mind and reason to understand natural events. One of these first philosophers, Thales, believed that water was the basic material of the world. Everything was made from it. Over the years, other philosophers had other ideas about the universe. They did not do experiments, but they were careful observers and good thinkers. Democritus, who lived in the 400s BC, thought that everything was made up of tiny particles he called atoms. More than 2,000 years later, science showed he was right. During the Golden Age and later, several important philosophers taught in Athens. One was a man called Socrates. People in the marketplace of Athens could not help but notice this sturdy, round-faced man. He was there at all hours of the day, eagerly discussing wisdom and goodness. Socrates wanted the people to consider the true meaning of qualities such as justice and courage. To do this, he asked questions that made others think about their beliefs. Sometimes they became angry because Socrates often showed them that they didn't know what they were talking about. Know thyself was his most important lesson. Socrates' questions frightened many Athenians. This man challenged all the values of Athens. In 399 BC, Socrates was brought to trial. The authorities accused him of dishonoring the gods and misleading young people. He was condemned to death. Friends visited Socrates in prison and urged him to flee. He replied that escape would be an unacceptable behavior. He calmly drank poison and died. Greek drama. What do today's plays, movies, and television shows have in common with Athens? The answer is surprising. The Athenians were the first people to write dramas. Among the city's greatest achievements were the plays written and produced there in the 400s BC during the Golden Age. These plays soon became popular all over the Greek world. Tragedy. Some of the most famous Greek plays were tragedies. A tragedy is a serious story that usually ends in disaster for the main character. Often, tragedies told of fictional humans who were destroyed when forced to make impossible choices. A Greek tragedy consists of several scenes that feature the characters of the story. Between the scenes, a chorus chanted or sang poems. In most plays, the author used the chorus to give background information, comment on the events, or praise the gods. Performance of tragedies were part of contests held during religious festivals. At the main festival at Athens in the spring, 3 playwrights entered 4 plays apiece in the contest. The city chose wealthy citizens to pay the bills for these dramatic contests. Comedy. Comic writers also competed at the dramatic festivals. During the 400s BC in Athens, these poets wrote comedies that made fun of well-known citizens and politicians, and also made jokes about the customs of the day. Because of the freedom in Athens, people accepted the humor and jokes. What you see here is the theater at Epidaurus. This is the most famous of ancient Greek theaters. The seating area, which held 14,000 people, is built into a hillside. The round space, or orchestra, was where the action took place and the chorus danced and sang. The theater is still used for plays today. It is so well constructed that everyone can easily hear the words of the play. This is the end of Chapter 6, Section 2. You should be able to answer a few questions. First one, what part did religion play in Athenian achievements during the Golden Age? 2. According to the Greek philosophers, how could people understand natural events? And finally, Why do you think Pericles called Athens the school of all of Greece? On top of these questions, please make sure you've completed the questions that are in your Google Doc and you have submitted through the Google Classroom by tomorrow morning, and we will see you in class then. And as always, be excellent to one another.